Welcome everybody for today's session. My name is Mark Harington. Thank you for joining me in this e-meeting. We're going to go through an interesting session on how do you upsize consumer lifetime value with AI. Right, AI has been an intimate part of our lives most recently, right, with all these changes that's happening in our environment. And let's see how it changes our game with our consumer lifetime value. Well, 2020 has been a year of working from home, right? And working from home means different kind of dreams that we see. Well, I've tried to put together some of those dreams that we've been having in the nights, especially the guys at the C levels, right? Who drive technology and who support business in different ways and forms. So some of those interesting dreams are around rate of innovation, how fast we can do it, data, how do I monetize it, how do I do smart automation, right? Again, InfoSec was never a backseat at any point of time. From the time you shift from on-premise to the houses of people, that's been $1 million question. Compliance, it came late into the game, but still an interesting question for us to ponder at night. Digital ecosystems, there is not a single person in the world who doesn't talk about it, right? Good, bad, ugly, everything about it, right? And those are there in the dreams. Well, there's also an interesting part, right? Tech talent, right? There are a lot of things that's happening to people from the way they work, how they work, etc. Retaining tech talent and building and for the future is something that's giving nightmares and sometimes dreams for people in different parts of the world. And obviously, I put the business continuity part a little bit down because eventually that was on top of our minds when we started with, but now with different solutions driving different things for us, cloud, etc. That's still on our dream list though. Cost with ROI, I mean, this has been there forever and it'll continue to be in our dreams. We'll have to justify the return of investment on every adventure that we take through, right? But again, I'm not saying all of this. It's coming from the Forbes 2020 research, and it's pretty solid there. But if you look at all these dreams, there is a single largest bottom line across this. That is your customer lifetime value. End of the day, businesses are accountable to shareholders, right? And CLTV is the single largest metric that C-levels have been coming to measure on. And different companies call that, different ways. Some of them call it RFM, which is like recency, frequency, and the monetary value, which is basically the formula for CLTV, right? For banking guys, some of them, when we say CLTV, they get confused. Is it consumer loan time value, etc.? No, guys, it's consumer lifetime value or customer lifetime value, right? It's basically how much are they buying from you, how frequently are they buying from you, and how long are they going to stay with you, right? So that's pretty simple. Now, as we realize and we become more sophisticated, we understand that no customer sticks with one vendor, right? We have multiple bank accounts, we have multiple insurances, etc. So you're not going to take away all the money the consumer has. And so your idea is how much share of the consumer wallet that you have. It does not matter whether you're a bank or an insurance, how much money do they spend on you, right? And then obviously, consumer spend, that's your CPA. So all of this has been going on, and those are the ones who actually drive our dreams today. Because at the end of all our dreams, the bottom line is CLTV, right? So if you look at customer revenue, it's simple. The revenue that comes through minus the cost of serving the customer is actually your CLTV. Basically, that's what ends up with you. Now, let's look at this. Upsizing CLTV has multiple levers, and especially at BFSI, the game is slightly more different, right? Retaining the loyalty is something that's very critical for you. What does it mean? It means keeping your customer with you for a longer term. Make sure you don't lose them, right? We have different metrics across. We're talking about churn. We're talking about consumer lifetime with us, etc. So how do you keep retaining that loyalty? So that's going to increase your lifetime value. Or the other way to do it, and this is a more popular way, is consumers don't stick with the brand. It's not our daddy's time where the brand value stuck the customer with us even if he didn't provide a great service. But people shift loyalty much faster today, and you are very well aware of it. So the other lever to move is to increase the value or the profitability that you have with the consumer at this moment, right? And which is a much more popular way. Now, driving that high value or high profitability can happen with three different accelerators. One, using the tech to drive a different product or a different business model, right? It's extremely popular, guys. Whether it's been the Airbnbs of the world, or it's going to be the new virtual banking models that's coming across, right? Virtual only banking models that's coming across. There's different products, there's different business models, that can come across and help you to make that accelerator for change. There is also another change that can come across, which is tech-driven CX. Deliver some amazing experiences that stand out for a lifetime, right? Look at Disney. Times have changed. I'm sure their revenues came down with the pandemic, but the Disney experience never comes down. Delivering high quality customer experiences always ensures high customer loyalty and extract high value from the consumer, right? Again, tech plays a very critical part. We're going to see this as we go into our presentation. And tech-driven cost optimization, which is again another part of our life, automation, etc. That's making sure that we save cost. End of the day, guys, innovation is what we're measured on. There are two key components of innovation. One is pace, and the other is perceived usefulness. How fast we innovate and how useful is our innovation to the broader consumer base. Now, keep the thought in mind as we go about driving CX using tech. Now, we said it's not just the speed, it's how good our innovations are. Now, if you want to drive those frictionless consumer experiences using technology, there are two things that come into picture. One is acting really smart, be intelligent, be smarter when you deal with your customer. And the other is acting really fast, right? So let's talk about acting really smart. The common myth is, if I want to deal with my customer and get my CX up, beat the market by using new channels, chat bots, virtual bots, throw that to the customer, or drive adoption in them, deflect them, or contain in them, right? All of these things have been our strategy, right? And we all know how it worked with us with different bots, etc. That is the myth. I'm going to bust the myth with you, okay? We had a recent survey conducted by a group of guys, right, across the globe. And the most important part of CX, which they felt from their consumers, were accurate and frictionless interactions. They didn't care about which channels, or they didn't care about how much they adopted the channels. All they wanted was a seamless conversation with the brand, right? And 18% still stuck to their sentimental part of it, where it said they really wanted empathetic interactions, okay? The last one was the actual omni-channels. Only 7% of the consumers really said, giving me different channels changed the game, right? Now, if you also look at today, and this is coming straight away from the Voice of Today survey, again, 2020, just after the pandemic was getting, settled down and we were all back to our homes, etc. The question was, what was the most important quality that changed the game for you when you received the service? And look at that. Most of them, almost 41% said how accurate and timely the information was. They didn't care about whether they spoke to a chatbot, virtual bot, email, etc. Right? And the remaining 33% said, guys, it's all about speed and efficiency for us. 20% again went back to the good old days of empathy. Only 5% said, guys, it matters for me how many channels you provide to me today or not. And this is, again, Voice of Today 2020 survey. So the fact is, putting more channels in, driving more adoption on digital, not just changes the game for you. Consumers are looking for something more different, right? And this is not just across these two surveys, it's occurring across every other bigger surveys that's been conducted across the world on CX. Let's go to act smart, right? Now that we busted the myth, let's see how we can really act smart here, okay? And fundamentally, acting smart is to understand your customers really better, which means using AI to understand consumer behavior much better. So let's look at this. Do I have these answers with me? Absolutely. If you have it today, a data lake or a repository of information where you store your consumer conversations, then that is the treasure trove for you. Imagine mobile, web, contact center, etc., right? Everybody today have consumer interactions and they all come to you for storage. Now imagine a capability where you can intelligently scan them, pick really what matters to you, right? And compare and identify the context, okay? Merge the sentiments on top of it, look for the outcomes and convert them to models. Now you have a perfect working model for you across. I'm picking those thousands of interactions, understanding what my customer is going through, pick what matters, understanding where they're not happy, put the sentiments on top of it, and building a predictive model, which is going to tell me every time where I'm going wrong or where I'm going right, maybe, right? So how does it really work? Now look at this, all this galore of interactions that we spoke about. If I would pump into an engine, right, which generally has different models, it starts scoring those models and it starts giving you an overall score. If I were to come back and ask you this question, if you're a bank or an insurance, what is the overall sentiment across all your consumer digital traditional channels across for the last 7 days? If you do have an answer, then you are being really, really sophisticated. And most of the companies today don't have the answer. Well, I can tell you for the contact center, but I may have an NPS for this one, and I may have that for that one. The digital channels, we're pretty much there, but we are analyzing. So there's no single sentiment across any channels that come through, right? If I ask you, what is the propensity of fraud on the top 3 channels that you're interacting with the customer, that's a hard number to come by, not by clicks of buttons, right? Or how much customers are going to leave you when they move from this channel to another channel, etc. And how do you predict those churns, etc. Or how effective are you selling to these customers? Can you put a number across that? And that's what the predictive model does. It starts scoring, putting numbers across this, right? And it can even go down measuring some of those soft behaviors for you, right? How good are you teaching digital to your customer, right? How much do you acknowledge loyalty to your customers? And today we say that as a yes or no, if somebody looked into the interactions or listened to it, etc. in contact center maybe. But how about putting a number across all of them to understand how you perform, right? So interactions in, metrics out, you can consume and see what actually is happening to your customer. Be more smarter. If this is the case, if the customer comes and walks into my branch and then turns up and calls my contact center, and if he's really irate about a loan foreclosure, then that's how I'm going to lose the lifetime value of the consumer, right? It's pretty simple and straightforward. Now, not just we're talking about automatic categorization, we are also talking about topics that's coming across different results, etc. Right? How do I know what's being discussed with my customer? What are all these data? Right? What do they actually mean to them? And when these data come to me, how do I make sense out of them? And all of these come from predictive models today. And think about different types of sentiments for you, right? And that is a sentiment model for you. It looks at different patterns, sentiments across different interactions, whether it's coming from traditional or digital, and then it starts scoring them, right? And tells you your overall sentiment at different parts of the time, different levels of the businesses, at different scenarios, etc., which is a gold mine for you to see what your consumers are reacting to your products, your business model, your service, etc. A quick use case on what we're talking about, complaint identification, right? We're talking about a big complaint program run by one of the largest BFSI banks where they deploy the predictive models, right? And the models help them to understand scoring all those interactions, understanding different thresholds, right? And it starts auto-scoring them, telling them where they're going wrong, what's the propensity of complaint, and what are their risks to be reported to the regulator. They serve millions of dollars just by managing their complaint process. So that is acting smarter. Now acting faster, right? Now you can be all the smart if you want, but if you miss the moment of truth, then you really have a problem, right? So how about doing some virtual assistance for you? I want to quickly introduce Neva. She's my heartthrob, right? She's the one that brings people and robots together. She's smarter. She brings the employees in touch with the exceptional experience by bringing them data. All right. So what does she do? She does amazing stuff. She helps you to optimize robotics processes. She can give employees real-time guidance. She can give them the recent sentiments that's going on with the customer, give them the business insights on what's happening while they work with the customer, or email them, or whether the digital channels are interacting with them. It can build multiple behavior models. She can bring it to your desktop telling what's going on with your customer, right? And if you have your own AI framework, then she can actually connect to it and make sense out of it. Why real time? Real time is the game, guys. Imagine in your contact center, right? If the customer is talking to you, if I were to come back and say, hey, you're not demonstrating listening and you're not building rapport, right? And your speech is too fast, okay? And if the customer is talking about the fee, then let's go and fill the fee dispute form. Then that's pretty amazing, isn't it? It's the best way for you to change the game at the moment we're talking, And you could do that in some of the digital channels also coming out of IVR, etc. Right? So that's actually changing the game of your CX and giving exceptional customer experience that will drive a different game with the consumer, right? So real-time virtual assistants, smarter, intelligent. And in this case of complaints, Neva played a different game. She not only monitored different conversations, but she brought them the quick transcripts across. She brought the model scores across to different people. And she said, hey, this consumer is going to leave you quickly, right? Stop them, right? This is propensity for a legal complaint. Handle it differently. And it provided different kinds of assists, etc., which changes the game for complaint management. Now, I quickly gave you two different capabilities, acting smarter, acting faster, right? Now, these are definitely one of those most needed things that if you want to change the way you deliver experiences to end customer, thereby affecting your CLTVs, keeping them for a longer time, extracting more value from your customer. Now, we measure CLTV differently in different parts of our consumers. Sometimes we see CSAT, sometimes we see churn, loyalty, ease of switch, innovation and brand affinity, etc. But all of them eventually comes from how we handle our customers. And by acting smart and by acting fast, you have a high leverage on your customers, keeping them by your side as you go through different stages of transformation and deliver the superior experiences. Once again, I just want to end you with a quick note. CLTV is a metric that you can quickly control by delivering quick and efficient CX. And efficient CX comes down by acting really smart and acting really fast. And those predictive models that they are introduced to you across multi-channels, or those special virtual assistants, AI-based ones that can change the game at real time, is going to make a big change for you and your businesses in the coming years. Thank you for joining me today. It was great seeing you. Have a fantastic event ahead. Thank you.